Okay, we are almost done with this rig. So now we need to set up the mouth so that she can talk. So I'm going to import a file. So I'll right click in this gray area. I'm under project, right click and say import file. And I'm going to choose, it's called Phonemes and it's in your week 6. So for me, that is in here. So I have the Phonemes Illustrator file. I'm going to import it as composition retain layer sizes. We'll say import. And you've got this here. We're just going to double click on that composition. And we want to add in this mouth layer. So I'm going to copy it, Command C or Control C, and then paste it into here, Control V or Command V. And it pastes in really, really small. So I'm going to click S on my keyboard and I want to set that to 10,000. So it's 1 and 4 zeros. And that should make it about the same size as the others. So we can close the scale. And now I want to drag that into here. So I'm going to drag that composition layer and put it right on top of mouth, and it's huge right now. Don't worry about that for a second. I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to go to Window, Align, and I'm going to say to Composition. We'll put that down here for now. And we'll say Center and Center. So now everything should be right in the middle. And I can close that out now. And if I go back to this, everything should be centered again. So now we need to scale it down. So I'm going to turn off the eyeball on all of our layers except for the original mouth layer. And here I'm going to press S on the keyboard. And it should be about 3. Let's just try that. And we want to make it match just about the one that is in here. And that's for position as well. So that matches pretty much exactly. So we nailed it on that first day. Alright, so we actually don't need this mouth to show anymore. So we're going to turn that off. And I want to link it to null facial features the same way that the other one is. So that's number 16 for me, null facial features. That way when the face moves around, this is moving around too. And just to test that, let's go ahead and make sure this face look works. And it is still working with that new one. That's good. Alright, so now what we need to do is we're going to create a new slider. We're going to go into Do It. And I'm going to click back down here. And I don't want anything selected down here, right? I'm going to click on Slider. And I'm going to move that over here. I'm going to do a couple of things. So I'm going to click on my slider. You could click on the blue dot here and go to Effects Controls. And for the slider itself, we're going to set the size to 500. That makes it really large. We're also going to rotate that. So I'm just going to press W on my keyboard and rotate that 90 degrees. And let's move that around so that everything's on our composition. 500 might have been a bit much. Let's go ahead and go back to effects on our slider. And let's set that maybe to 300 instead. That looks a lot better. There we go. Alright, so that's about the size we want it to be now. So right now that slider is not attached to anything. So what we need to do is we're going to go into Do It. And we'll click on the slider, go into Links and Constraints and our settings. I'm going to say Pick Control. And right now what I want is I have my slider selected, right? And I'm going to use the layer opacities, but I'm going to do that on my Phonemes layer instead. So I'm going to turn all the eyes back on here. I'm going to select everything and I'm going to say Layer Opacities. And so you can see that load up, and now there's only one that's turned on at the moment. And if I select all of these and press T on my keyboard and zoom in really close, you can see that it created a bunch of on-off switches for the opacity. So now at certain frames, the opacity is going to change on these. So I don't need the opacity turned on for all of these, so I'm going to turn that back off. And I'm going to go back into my character face layer. Don't need the scale turned on for that anymore, and I'm going to hide the mouth layer. So now I just have the phonemes and the sliders. Oops, let's rename our slider. I'm going to call it phonemes. And phonemes is the word for the mouth position as you're talking, so what shape it forms. And so now you can see that the slider controls what mouth shape she has. And I think her mouth looks a little bit small. I'm going to go to the scale and set that up a little higher. Maybe 5, maybe 4. Okay. Okay. Oof, that looks a little bit big. Let's try 4. And I'm going to also move this down a little bit. Just a touch, just where it looks right. Alright. So now with that set up, we can animate the slider. Oops, don't move that. We can animate the slider. Some of these look a bit tiny. Let's go into our phonemes here. And I'm gonna make the mouth scale. Actually, instead of the mouth, let's do everything else. I'm gonna make the scale for everything else 110%, just to make it slightly bigger, and that shouldn't have any effect on our slider over here. It should just make it so that it's not teeny tiny. So let's just undo for a little bit until we get the okay. So I'm gonna set these all here really quick. 115 maybe for everything except for this first one. Press all of it and hit scale to close it. And we just need to set up our slider one more time. And I'm going to select all of these and choose layer opacities just like I did before. And this is purely just to get that scale fixed. And it should have fixed everything. Now we just need to go into phonemes and change that to 4. Nope. And I'm going to move it down also. Alright, that's looking right to me. So I'm going to hide this, copy that, press enter on my keyboard and paste that in. Press enter on my keyboard, paste that in. And we can actually hide this too. Alright, and I'm going to lock this phonemes one. And if I go into face look, the text right here, I can copy that, Control or Command C for copy and V for paste. V is in violin. And I'll just drag that over so that it's on top of my slider. I'm just going to rename that phonemes. Alright, so I can lock that, and we can shy that out if it's not already. And let's shy out or lock the face look one as well, and the controller. So now we only have the slider, and I want to add in a little bit extra, and this is kind of unnecessary, but I think it's really helpful for our project. So what we'll need to do is go back to our project, and I want to copy all of these layers here. So even the mouth layer, I'm going to copy those. I'm going to come in over to our original document. I'm going to paste it, and it pasted everything way over here for me, so I'm just going to move it over and scale it way down. So we just want to make sure it doesn't flip it. And I also want my alright, that should be okay. So now what I want to do is I want to add the text, and I want to add the shape of each of these mouths into Duik, or into onto our slider. So I'm going to press T on all of these. And since these are copies, I'm going to, let's close that. Okay. So on all of these, I'm just going to hit the stopwatch on my opacity because I don't need that to be happening at the moment. Let's make sure the scale is way down. So I'll grab all of these and just type 1 into here. That should help us. It helped a little bit. It's still quite small. Alright, so let's go through and just scale these up a little bit. Press T on the keyboard and make sure that is okay. So let's kind of keep doing that. I'm going to scale all of these up just a little. We'll set it to 5. And I'm going to do Alt-Shift+ or Option-Shift+ on the opacity for all of these because I don't want this part to be connected to my slider. I just want them to be image layers. Let's select opacity instead of scaling all of these. And let's just, we can only do one at a time. Maybe if we selected each opacity individually, actually. Yeah. Alright, so now everything should be set to 0%, and, 100%. Okay, so now everything should be visible, and let's go ahead and scale everything up to 10. A little bit smaller than 10. We'll try 8. Sure. Alright, so now let's go ahead and move these around, and what we want to do is order them so that when we slide the slider past it, it's the right mouth shape. And actually these are quite large for our slider. Let's move all of these, we'll make it 5 again. That should give us some room to spread everything out. I'm gonna grab the QW one and push that down. Let's scale that down too so that it's about the same size as the others. Let's grab everything, go to Window, Align. I'm going to say distribute layers vertically, like this. And that should kind of line everything up, and as long as it came in the right order, which it might not have, it should be working properly. So when it's here, that should be the right shape. Down a little bit more. So I'll move that one up to here. And this one down. Okay. Next shape is going to be kind of a tongue at the top, so it looks like this one. We'll swap those out. Oops. Select everything and just align it center. Oops, to selection. Alright, so we have that one. That looks right to me. And I'm going to align those center as well. Oh, we don't want that. Alright, let's keep going. I'll swap these out. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just enough to give you an indication. I'll just leave that to the side. Looks like the same one. Yep. Let's see, actually, oh, we haven't changed it. There we go. Swap that out. Okay, excellent. I don't think I've ever had that work so smoothly before, so that went really well. Let's grab all of these. I'm going to center them. I want to push them a little bit closer, and what I want to do is right click on these and change them to guide layers. So that adds that little hash mark on the side, and that's saying that it's not going to print to the screen whenever we export. Okay, so let's do one more thing over here. I'm gonna copy this Phonemes layer. So that should be right here. And copy and paste that. I'll lock the first one and I'll unshy that. And what I want to do is drag that to the side here. Actually, better idea. Let's grab all of these, move them holding shift to the right side. That way that's on the right and we can have the text on the left. And I want to change the text to say what it is. And I'm going to align it to the right. Align text to the right. That way, I can just set that here. And let's go back to align. Center that. It's not going to center for me since the bounding box isn't on the shape of the lip itself. That should be good enough. So let's move that down. Oops, copy and paste it and move that down. And let's grab this mouth shape. So that's AEI. I'll just hit enter, copy it, double click and paste it. Okay, let's copy and paste that layer, move that down, and now we have O. I'll just type that. Alright, what's next? We have, I'm going to press enter, whoops, press enter, copy that. We'll copy and paste this first. Okay. Press enter, copy, double click and paste that in. And we'll just drag that out so that we can see all of the letters. Let's do the next one, and I'm just going to keep going like this. So I'll just drag these down. Okay, now I just copied those across. I'm going to go through and paste in the actual mouth shapes that they're representing. So I'll go back into here. This one will be GK. Alright, L. BMP. FV. This is kind of our E shape. Got TH. Then we've got CHJSH. U. And QW. Alright, so now what we have is a really good descriptor of everything that we have on our shapes. We have one last thing to animate, and that is going to be the hand shape, and we won't be able to do that until we have the whole body pulled back up. So that will be our next plan. Let's just slide that back up to the top. And just for some housekeeping, let's go ahead and hide all of these. Hide all of these. And lastly, I'm going to move them all down to the very, very bottom We want it to be above background, below everything else. And now we can lock all of these. And since we're not messing with any of these over here, we don't really want them to be bothering us, basically. Let's just make sure that there's nothing else that we can't move down the same way. I'm gonna keep these controllers up at the top. Everything else should be fine. Alright, let's move on to rigging the body again.